Dear parents of Reddit, what is the most freaked up crap you've caught your kid doing? This is tame by comparison to other stories here, but here it is. When my son was about a year old, I found him stuffing his pants pockets full of Vaseline, scooping it out with his hands. Really makes me wonder why little kids' clothes even have pockets. I caught my son, 7, and his best friend, 9, drawing clown faces on each other's butt cheeks and with the plans of farting in each other's faces. This might be the most normal post in the thread so far. My wife was driving our, then, 3-year-old back from her aunt's house to eat lunch. She noticed him cram something in his mouth and start chewing, and she asked him what he was eating. No response. Thinking he might be choking or something, she brakes hard, pulls over to the side of the road, yanks the back door open and grabs a French fry out of his mouth. Now, they had been to McDonald's several days before, and the car had been cleaned since then, so she looks high and low to see where it came from. She gets suspicious and takes the cover off his car seat. Lo and behold, there are about a dozen stale fries in the folds of the plastic car seat. Far too many to be accounted for by random drops. The kid was stashing them for later like a squirrel. I was super afraid it was going to be bugs. Thank goodness it wasn't bugs. Few weeks ago, my 4-year-old said she had to pee. She was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes when we start hearing her gag, so I tell her dad to go check on her. He walks in and she quickly throws a huge crap log back in the toilet and tries to hide her crap covered hands. When he asked her why she was playing with her crap, she said she wanted to see how squishy it was. Gag. I did this once when I was a kid. It stuck to my hands. Obviously, I was not pleased and never did it again. My daughter crap in a box and gave it to my son as a present in front of our whole family. I guess no one really caught her as she was obviously and openly trolling. Pretty fricked up. I didn't even know what to say to that. I feel their ages might be an important aspect to this story. My 4-year-old daughter used to stash steak knives in strategic locations around the house. My neighbor busted her doing it. I didn't believe him until he pulled out a 6-inch carving knife from behind a bookcase. With the right mentor, your daughter will grow up to be an amazing badass. My friend who worked in a residential treatment facility once found a kid who had stuck a paperclip into an electrical outlet and was lying on the floor looking at it. When asked what he was doing, the kid replied, "Every time I touch this with my tongue I wet my pants." You can excuse the first time, and the second time in the name of science, but after that you have to wonder about a kid. Friend's daughter once said pretty loudly in a bus, "Look, daddy, uncle's beard looks like mom's pee-pee." Mama going 70s style. When I was 7 I rubbed poison ivy all over my eyelids so I didn't have to go to school. I did it again when I was 12. I remember drinking orange juice and milk that made me shart everywhere in order to trick my parents into thinking that I had gastro so I wouldn't have to go to the school play where I was cast as Jesus. I lived in a condo when I was a kid. The family living above us had a girl my age, who I played with in a small forest bordering our backyard from time to time. She used to pick up these big black slugs from the ground and lick the thick black slime off of them, like completely, savoring every drop. She thought it was yummy and would easily do a dozen slugs in one sitting. Her parents discovered it and needless to say we were not allowed to play in the forest anymore. The poop eating, the violence, all of it, and this comment is the one that made me violently shudder in disgust. Walking in on my son flirting on Omegle. He was 7 at that time. "Hey BBY, we should go out for juice boxes sometime." I was babysitting my friend's children, probably aged around 5 and 7 back then, and I caught the daughter, the 5-year-old, following her brother into the bathroom when he went to pee. The kids then informed me that she does it all the time because she likes to run her fingers in the stream of urine and then lick her fingers because it's yummy. He might have diabetes. My daughter is not even 3 but she put a box of Nerds down her diaper and stated that she was a rattle toy. Uncle to a rambunctious boy. When he was around 2, we found him laying around with the dog English Bulldog. Neither seemed like anything was wrong, except for the dog jingling. My nephew had stuck my brother's car key up the dog's ass, like all the way to the plastic knob. The dog seemed unfazed and my nephew seemed proud he found the keyhole to start the dog. My friend used all the olive oil to masturbate with. His parents never caught him, but his mom figured it out and told him to use lotion because it was cheaper. Something extra virgin. I have an 8-year-old son who has sleepovers with the kid down the block. I came downstairs and one had his head under the other's blanket. After the typical "what the F are you guys doing?" I had found out that they have a game where they smell one another's farts. I thought it was weird, then I remembered the same scene from Biodome. Babysitting my twin cousins recently. They're 5. They were arguing about something during a snack, and the boy twin suddenly got eerily calm. He goes into her bedroom, gets a tiny Anole, the lizards you find in your garden, terrarium, and takes it outside. She starts screaming bloody murder. I'm completely confused. He turns to her through the glass door and proceeds to smash the tank against the ground. Just windmills his arm and wails the tiny box against the cement. No fluctuation in his emotion. I ran out to stop him, but the 5 or so little lizards in the tank were dead. I look back at the other twin, and she was sobbing into her hands. He just walked past her and sits down to continue eating his snack. My aunt told me that was the 3rd time he's done that. Yeah, the boy might have some problems. Me and my 5-year-old son at the urinals. He's arguing that his pee-pee is bigger. It was at a hockey arena, so there were about 40 dudes laughing their asses off. My daughter, when 15 and heavily in piercing, death metal, decided to brand herself with a star shape on her arm. I didn't realize till the next day. Still no idea how she managed the shape or not to scream. She still has the scars. Metal F. My youngest of 3 had just started walking. One day I found her hanging onto the bathroom toilet. I walked in and to my surprise saw her with a handful of soggy toilet paper. Right as I scream her name, that little baby hand reaches up into her mouth and she begins chewing it. One of my older kids forgot to flush and I panicked. Having never experienced this with her bro or sis, I called poison control. They assured me that children ingest fecal matter often and she may have a stomachache but will be fine. Another time, same kid mind you, we are walking into a grocery store. I look down and say name. Where did you get that gum you're chewing? Her reply was on the ground. Gag. She is by far my most disgusting child. That kid is going to have a killer immune system. My kids were pretty tame. I had one son scotch tape himself to the floor. I think he liked the sound of the tape coming off the roll. The same son also built scotch tape foot bridges between countertops. My daughter sneaked out one night and a friend who works nights saw her, called us. We were waiting on her bed when she climbed back in the window. God, that was a great parenting moment. I didn't so much catch him at it. It was more like he was doing it at me. He's 4 years old, and we were having a bedtime battle where he simply wouldn't be quiet or stay in bed. He can really dig in his heels sometimes. I was getting pee and for the 4th or 5th time that night I walked to his doorway to tell him he needed to be quiet. He was ready for me with his pants off, his ankles up to his ears and his butthole pointed directly at the doorway. He heard me when I stopped dead in my tracks and he looked up between his legs at me with pure hate in his eyes. I gently told him to pipe down and went back to my room. I came back one more time for the same reason and this time he was in the same position except he was sticking his finger in his ass at me. Hatefully, he just sat there wordlessly mean mugging me with his finger in his ass. That's probably the most fricked up crap I've caught my kid doing. I used to have a roommate that would help with watching my daughter, even during times where I just needed a nap. One day I was napping and my roommate was watching my daughter, but my daughter headed back to her room. She didn't come out for a while, so my roommate went looking for her. She found my daughter in my room standing over me with a toy knife, bringing it down over and over, whispering, "Stab, stab, stab, stab. Oh God, hide your sharp knives." My son was 5 and had started playing Skyrim on the Xbox 360. One afternoon, the neighbor called and asked if I could watch her son, also 5, for a few hours. They played with swords, shields, Nerf guns, typical boy games. At one point I stopped hearing them. That's always a dangerous thing with any child. You know something is going down. I opened the door very quietly and saw them on the floor. My son was now wearing his friend's shirt and pants, and the other boy was down to only his underwear. My first thought was, what the frick? But my son looked up at me with a sword in his hand and said, "We are playing Skyrim and I just killed him, so I am taking his stuff." All I could say was okay, but let's try to keep all of our clothes on from now on. This one is awesome. Well, from the age of about 2-5 I had a flock of imaginary ducks that used to follow me around. Apparently we had to wait a good minute or so each day when getting into the car so all my duck friends could come along. When asked about them I would say that I am their king and they are here to follow me. But apparently it started getting weird when I would pretend to break up fights between the ducks and cry when one died. Yeah, I was a bit of a fricked up kid. This is my favorite imaginary friend story I've ever heard. My brother hated bugs, and we had cacti in our front yard. He would cut their heads off and either skewer them all over the cactus, or he would take their head and put twigs in their body where their heads would be. Vlad the Exterminator sent the boys to bed with popcorn for a fun treat. Hear maniacal laughter shortly thereafter. Go upstairs to find one of them sticking popcorn between his cheeks and farting so it came out. Asked what was going on. Both boys in a panic tried to eat evidence, as mother and I watched horrified. Not my kid, but my friend went to pick up his little brother from his friend's house and no parents were home, so he walked up and found his brother and his friend holding each other's dongs. My friend is a 3rd grade teacher. He came to school one morning after having been out sick for a day and found that his classroom only had girls. Turns out all of the boys had been suspended the day before for teabagging each other during recess. Walked in on my kid torturing an action figure with a lighter. Less fricked up than funny, but my cousin entered the bathroom to find her 2-year-old boy had covered himself in mommy's stickers. They weren't stickers, they were Kotex pads. And yes, there are photos. I fondly remember a birthday party at my then girlfriend's family, when her 5-year-old cousin came down the stairs from the bathroom, happy as a clam and announcing to the world, "Mommy, I stuffed cotton balls into my butt." Just as you always do. Mommy was not happy with her son. I caught my daughter putting Tic Tacs in her butt because she wanted her poop to smell good. My mom caught my little brother descaling their brand new goldfish at the kitchen table. Was disturbing from what I hear. I have been told on numerous occasions about how when I was 3 or 4, as my parents and I were walking out of the old spaghetti factory, I turned to a table that had a black family in it with a little black boy about my age. I excitedly exclaimed, "Look, it's a basketball baby." My parents told me this story of when I was about 3-4 years old. My sister was playing in her room one day and apparently came across a spider in her toy chest. Being a 5-6-year-old girl, she lost her mind and started screaming. That's when I supposedly learned what my life's calling was. As the story goes, I come barging into my sister's room, yell, "Don't worry, Kittis infection sister. I'll hypnotize it with my penis," and promptly dropped my pants. My dad laughed. My mother cried. I defeated a spider. Not a parent, but my friend's little brother, who was 5 or 6 at the time, would strip down and chase me through the house with a kitchen knife. I was terrified of hanging out with my friend because of this. So after it happened 2 or 3 times, and one time his older brothers attacked me while wearing the Scream costume, I decided I wasn't going to his house anymore. Not a parent, but an older brother. When my younger sisters, twins, were about 2-3 years old, they filled the bathtub up with hot water, only using the red side of the 2 knobs, and took off their diapers and threw them in the bathtub. I heard from my mom that they inflated to huge dimensions. Oh, at the time one of them put an entire roll of toilet paper in the toilet, effectively clogging it. My sisters do weird crap together. My 3-year-old son figured out how to take selfies with an old iPad we had. Wife thought I'd BP. Pics were hysterical, but not safe to show others. Wiped that iPad pretty fast, as would be tough to explain the pics to people. Funny because he was all calm in the pics. Batman undies, just one leg in, halfway up his leg, as he posed for the camera. It was as though he knew exactly how he wanted to look in them. I'm getting a vasectomy. You have been visited by the masonry dog. You'll never deal with an earthquake or sinkhole if you comment "Lay the masonry papa." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.